Brightest blessings, everybody. This is Autumn. Thank you for checking out my video. This is a very well overdue video about who God is to me. This was last week's topic. I'm sorry that it's late. I'm sorry that I'm looking like a hot mess. I just got off of work and I have been like shooting and reshooting this video because I just like hate how it keeps turning out. So I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed and do it all over again tomorrow. So I've got a lot of notes here that I'm going to be referencing. I'm going to be going kind of back and forth between things. I'll try to stay on topic as much as I can, but this is my view on who God is to me as a Christopagan. First, I want to give you my background. I grew up with a Catholic mother and a Lutheran father. My mom, her family's from Sicily, so they're Italian Catholics. My mom's not very religious, but that's where my dad stepped in. He's Lutheran. He comes from a little podunk town in the Midwest. He's very Republican, very Christian. So really young, we went to a lot of churches. When I was 4 and 5, I didn't really like going to church. I felt pretty deceived by the pastors. I felt like a lot of people didn't really live a Christian life. I did feel the deceit at a very early age. As I got older, when I was 13, I started practicing witchcraft. I got really lightly. I got pretty involved with the elements and just kind of stepping outside of Christianity and seeing what else was out there. My parents got divorced though, so a lot of things came to a halt, which my spirituality definitely did. When I got older, I came out of the closet with my sexual orientation. I was 24, so I was a pretty late bloomer on that. And that was really hard to do because I had like lost my way for a long time. I won't go really in depth about that, but I went to recovery centers and I found Jesus, and honestly, it saved my life. It saved me from a really dark road. It saved me from myself. So it was really hard to come out of the closet as bisexual because I didn't know how my family was going to take it. I didn't know how the church was going to take it. I didn't know if God was going to love me for who I was. So that's when I started researching the Bible, how it was written and how it was translated, and that's when I found that there were a lot of man-made errors in there. One of them being some man-made deceit. Like words like homosexual weren't even words back in the day, back in Jesus's time. Those words didn't exist, just like witch didn't exist. A witch is derived from the Greek word pharmakos, which means drug. So if you were using herbs and plants to use as drugs, as medicine, you could have been considered a witch. So there was a lot of hype around nothingness, I feel like, with things like that. So anyway, that's when I kind of started getting back into witchcraft about 1 year and 8 months ago. I started getting back into my path. I'm an eclectic witch. I'm a Christopagan. So I hope that this video is really insightful for those of you who are curious about Christopaganism or who are considering following this path for yourself. I in no way intend to belittle anybody's religion or try to talk poorly of your religion or doubt your religion. I don't think that my religion is superior to anybody else's. I believe personally that we all come from different walks of life and we all come from the same God or gods. We all just celebrate them and worship them differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. So with that being said, who is God to me? Well, back in the day, sorry, I had an itch. Back in the day, I used to believe in the standard Trinity, God the Father, Holy Spirit, and Jesus. So I thought that God was like some old dude on a cloud chilling upstairs with a robe and a beard and just kind of staring down at heaven. And then his Holy Spirit was just kind of roaming free, chilling on the earth. And then Jesus was his son, given birth by Mother Mary. That's how I used to see it. But looking at the Bible, when I started getting into this, witchy path of mine, I was really curious about paganism. So I started researching what separates it from Christianity, and really a big one is the polytheism or the duotheism, because the Abrahamic religions are monotheistic. There's like one almighty dude creating the world and being the all-knowing, all-being, all-seeing, supreme being. Whereas these pagan religions, there is a goddess aspect, there is a feminine aspect, and that I loved. I did not like feeling like women were second class. I feel like women have been oppressed for a very long time, and I felt like monotheism was the culprit of it. So I was curious to learn more about paganism, so I was also really, leery of doing that. Beware false doctrine was like replaying in my head like a broken record. So I prayed a lot, meditated a lot, tried to open my third eye chakra, my navel chakra, my root chakra, even to keep me grounded, and my crown chakra. Asked for my archangels, my guardian angels, and Jesus to just kind of guide me, keep me safe, and to keep me on the right path, and to really show me what it was that gods wanted me to know, and to teach me more about Holy Spirit, that I believe is a woman or female. So God, to me, I started looking at the Bible, reading the actual scriptures. The Old Testament's written in Hebrew. That is the Torah. That's what the Jews went off of and still do. And in the Old Testament, we derive the word God from the word Elohim. Now, Elohim is mentioned 2,500 times in the Old Testament. Elohim, when you break it down in Old Hebrew, means gods. It is a plural word, multiple, more than one deity. Now, Eloh, E-L-O-H, is singular for God, but Elohim is multiple. That blew my mind, but also didn't shock me at all, because of Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. That is when God says he's creating the earth, okay? So at this point, God has created the heavens and the earth. He has created night and day, and, the water, the Pangea, or the land, all the animals of the sea, air, and land. And then in 1:26 of Genesis, he says, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." There are 3 words there that really struck a chord with me. Our and us. Who was God talking to? Was he talking to the cattle? Like, whose image was he making man and woman from? Because when you look at nature's got a lot going on, There's a polarity there. There is life and death. There is male and female. And even in humans, women have testosterone in them just like men have estrogen in them. Like, we have the same kind of hormones that men and women have. I'm a woman. I still have the same hormones as men. And we all start out as female. And then sorry, I'm going to get like real 7th grade biology on you guys for a second. So we start out female, and then gonads will stay ovaries, or they're going to drop down and be gonads, testes. So, we're just weird. We're so complex. So how is it that just one guy was like, okay, I'm a man, I'm going to make man like me? Like, that could make sense because he is complex, but where did he get the idea for a female aspect? Because we see it in nature, we see it in animals and in humans. There's female and male aspects in everything. So I started breaking down more so the words for God. Now, Elohim means gods, but Yahweh is mentioned a lot in the Old Testament. There are 5 names mentioned the most in the Old Testament. That's, names like Job and Moses, but Yahweh being the most. Now, Yahweh is believed to be the name of the male god, also translated to Jehovah in English. But then Spirit is known as a few things. It's known as Pneuma, Spiritus, Raka, Ruka, and there's another word in Syriac that I'll find for you guys in just a second. And then also Sophia. So what's cool about different languages, if you're not trilingual or bilingual, English, we don't really have genders for nouns. But in languages like Spanish, mesa is a table, but it is a feminine word. So they associate genders with certain nouns, with certain objects. So spirit is mostly female. It's mostly given female pronouns. So in Hebrew, it is rock or Ruch, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, so I apologize. R-A-U-C-H, that's feminine. In Syriac, it's Rucha, R-U-C-H-A. Pneuma is actually neuter, so it doesn't have any gender association to it. But Sophia, which is also Greek, is feminine for wisdom. And then Spiritus being the masculine one. So Spiritus is said in John verses 14 and 16, that the Spirit of God is masculine. And that got me thinking, you know, well, maybe God isn't some guy hanging out on a cloud. Maybe God is energy, God is spirit. So who is this feminine aspect? Now, what you got to know too is that Sophia is mentioned, or wisdom is mentioned in the Bible almost as much as Yahweh.